Good morning, Service Alliance community. How's everybody doing? Today we've got Justin Gandy on with us,
What's up, boys?
and TK was having some technical difficulties this morning and can't make it. So Justin and I are going at it here, and we're going to talk about growing a multi-tech business. Good morning. How you doing, Justin?
Good, good. A special shout out to our guy TK on his birthday. Make sure
Yeah, today's his birthday.
make sure you guys uh, text him and tell him how old he is. So
Yeah, send him a message. Get on Facebook. Send that guy a message. He's feeling a little down this morning and a little frustrated. So
probably
send
because
him some good vibes, guys.
TK, that's what happens when you get old, bro. You gotta
Yeah,
start taking fish oil and ginkgo biloba. You know, it
yeah.
happens, man.
Well, last
I
Wednesday
even
was my birthday, so he was talking to me about stuff like that. So
there you go.
yeah,
Yeah, man. So um, yeah, we're gonna talk about well, let's see. I'll just start with back when I started my business. You know, I had no intention of starting Appliance 911, and it's been just over 5 years ago. Um, you know, I was in the banking industry, and it was on cruise control, and for things out of my control, opportunity presented itself, and I kind of shift gears, and me and my wife decided to start this company really as a side hustle while I was looking for a new opportunity in banking. And we started in our bedroom, you know. But I always had the intention of, if I'm going to do this, I'm gonna just put it out there and see what it sticks. And I was very fortunate because I'm third generation doing this for a living. I got to watch my dad build a very successful business, but also watch some of my other family members fail and fail repeatedly to learn from those experiences. At the time, I didn't realize those were lessons I was really getting to watch. You kind of sit back and watch, you know, what takes place, and don't realize how valuable those are later on in life. When you're trying to grow a business, there's so many times where I'd reference, oh yeah, I remember when my Uncle Paul went through this, and you know, I'm not gonna do that, or I'm gonna do that. You know what I mean? And I still talk to my Uncle Paul, you know, twice a week. He actually has the largest company in Wichita, which is only 2.5 hours from me. Um, you know, strategically from the very beginning, just like with anything that I do in business, was really looking at the market that I was in and figuring out what's my best way to break through in this market. And is it price? Is it value? Is it speed? And in the beginning, it was really multiple things. I wanted to be the cheapest guy, unfortunately, which is part of the deal. When you're in a competitive market like Kansas City, there was several huge companies. So I came in and tried to undercut them on service call fee, and then provide speed, which was, I'm going to provide 24-hour service 7 days a week. And I did that for 2 years, and it damn near killed me. But, you
So
know,
what were you looking at? Like, I mean, you're in a major metro area like Kansas City, and even the smaller towns outside of Kansas City are still pretty big.
yeah.
So how are you kind of looking at that and saying, you know what, there's a need for another appliance repair company here? Like, how do you analyze that, and what are you looking at when you were looking at that?
So previous to starting a business in Kansas City, I actually started a business in Chicago, which was called Windy City Appliance, that I ended up selling. And I learned a lot from that experience because that was a huge metropolitan area. And the truth of the matter is there's always a need for another company in a city that big. It's just a matter of, are you in the right space? Are you in the right location? And for me, I literally had my wife call around to all the service companies in town and just figured out what they were doing and what they weren't doing well, and just tried to game plan how I was going to beat them, honestly. And I realized their warranties, everybody had the same warranty, which was 90 days on parts. They were booked out, several days, which was to my advantage. I was like, okay, well, my customers won't have to wait at all once they hear about me. The biggest hurdle is, how do they hear about you when you're nobody? And it's expensive in the beginning. I think the biggest thing that I went into it, and you tell me if I'm right about this, Mike, because you're a marketing guru, way beyond what I could ever be. Um, you know, I went into it with the idea that I'm not going to worry about how much money I make in the first 18 months. After 18 months, I was going to reevaluate and see where I was at from a you know, customer base, and see how far we've gone, and just not worry about profitability so much. Now, obviously, I'm watching the bottom line to make sure I'm not leveraging and hemorrhaging money month after month. But my sole goal was to just get my name out there and get to as many customers' doors as possible. And after 6 months, it was like, okay, we're off to the races. We had
Well, just lost him. Well, that stinks. It was just getting good. Well, take a minute. How's everybody doing? If you got any questions for Justin, I'm sure he'll be right back. Now's the time to go ahead and get those questions in. And again, don't forget to send TK a happy birthday wish on Facebook. Reach out to him. He was definitely down this morning and not having the greatest birthday so far right off the bat. So send him some encouragement. Um, what's the topic today? We're talking about growing a multi-tech business. So
sorry about that, Mike.
no, that's all right. That's all right.
My
Things
alarm
happen.
went off.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah, so back to what we're talking about. I think I was kind of passing off to you about, um, my sole focus was just to grow a customer base. And I think that really was what defined our vision for the business. And it said a lot to our employees in the beginning that, hey, this isn't just about the money. This is about how well you're performing out there, what kind of image we're projecting, and we want to be different. And that was their entire company mantra, was we were going to do it better, we were going to be faster, but we weren't going to be the cheapest forever. And we weren't. We raised our service call fee gradually as the business grew. We're now probably one of the more expensive service calls in town, but we're still offering next day service most times on refrigeration for sure. Um, the rest of it, as busy as this industry's been the last 2 years, we are making dishwashers and stuff like that wait a couple days at times, but we've really tried to keep with that same business philosophy.
Cool. So what were your when you were starting out and I mean, we're talking about growing from nothing into a multi-tech business, and maybe there's some people that have had their business for many years, and
Mm-hmm.
they're looking to take that next step and hire someone, and they don't know how to go about that, and the challenges that go along with that, and both the good and the bad, right? Because
Yeah,
it's always the bad that nobody really understands
sure.
what could be there. So let's talk about, like, when did you know that it was time for you to hire someone? Like, what besides pulling your hair out and you're like, I can't do any more by myself because I'm killing myself.
Yeah.
What did you look at, as far as the business, and figure out, I need to hire a guy. Let's do this. How did you go about that? what did you look at financially in your business, and how were you strategic in your planning for that?
Yeah. So w- basically, you know, I know this is cliche, but they always say the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward. And I was a living model of that. I probably drove my wife insane in the beginning. Um, you know, we really, from the very beginning, when her and I started the company, we had the intention of we were going to hire technicians. I just realized if I was going to do this and walk away from the banking thing permanently, the only way that I could retire or walk away from this eventually is if I start training people as soon as I could. And from a financial aspect, I realized I had to make a certain dollar amount average 4 days a week to make that possible. When I looked over the books, my goal, I had to make $1,000 a day. I had to. Um, that was my bare minimum. My goal was really to hopefully make closer to 12 to 1500 a day. And the only way that I could accomplish that was making my company a sealed system first and refrigeration first company. That's kind of where the appliance 911 idea came from, was to really market ourselves towards being the refrigeration company in Kansas City, that we can be there fast, because most people that want you out there the same day, it's usually a refrigerator repair. And yeah, so I would say about 3 months in, when the service calls consistently were exceeding, um, you know, 10, 12 service calls a day, the writing is on the wall already that, look, I can only run 8 to 10 at most in this big city, literally working from 7 to 7, 6 days a week. So I literally just hired my first guy. And man, I got to tell you, I made so many mistakes in hiring in the beginning, and you're going to, but you learn from it each time. I mean, my first technician took me for a ride in the first 60 days for almost $10,000. I paid him out on labor that he had supposedly done jobs and never ordered parts and never went back and completed them. And it was a learning experience. But it didn't stop me. I literally hired the next guy after I figured out what was going on. I went and, you know, saved some of those situations that were happening with those customers. And the next guy got to see what he was putting me through. So it was actually good experience for him to see, like, hey man, this is what not to do. This is what can happen, if somebody is out here trying to rob your customers. And it ended up being Lex, who is my first technician, who now is, my brother. He's helped me build the business from the he's also my mascot, man. This guy, you got to have one of those guys that just believes in your vision. I mean, he literally has been so supportive every step of the way. And we've built that trust because even though we were in a position where we're growing a business and we're leveraging money, and sometimes there's not calls, sometimes I would sit at home and let Lex run calls. I earned his respect in those times, I believe, and he earned mine, because out of all the people I've trained, it took him a long time to figure this out. It was almost 8 months before he was really, like, I felt super confident in doing this. And um, you know, he really has taken on a role of a leader to where now he's helped me train other guys. And we went from Lex to, we have Nathan, who's our lead tech. He's probably my number one producing service tech now. Kid's 24 years old. He's just built different. I mean, the finding the right people, in my opinion, in the beginning, that really, I feel like, are the pillars of how you grow your business, is the most important thing. My suggestion to anybody out there thinking about hiring somebody is get good at firing, because the image that you're going to make great decisions on hiring. You just don't know with people, man. You don't know until you give them the opportunity. The worst thing you can do is hang on to somebody that you see problems with early on and continue to keep investing time and money into somebody that you already see has issues. So and it's hard to fire people because despite the fact that they may deserve to get fired, it's hard to do. These men have families and are trying to support themselves, and it's not fun. It's probably the least favorite thing that I have to do as an owner in my business, but it's necessary. And I've gotten a lot better at it because it's not fair to them either. If this position isn't for somebody with 24 years of experience, I can usually see that within a matter of a month or so. It's not fair to that person to say, hey, dude, I think you're going to be awesome at this, when I know they're not. Like, there's certain personality types that are really good at this. People that are very outgoing, like to talk to people. Like, if you're nervous talking to customers every day, you're always going to hate this job. You just are. Like, so yeah, I would say, a lot of that's played a big role in helping grow from 1 to 6 in, literally investing in people. You find one that is incredible and you hang on to them for dear life. I overpaid people. I literally just tried to pay them for their loyalty in the beginning until I earned it, because I didn't have that big name to where they felt confident that they were going to have a job in 5 years or 2 years or whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, how you said get good at firing, there's so much truth to that, because if that could be your defining moment of whether you start going down a really wrong path. If you're just afraid to just confront that situation and not handle it and not be prepared. I mean, we're dealing with humans, and it sucks when you have to fire someone.
It does.
But I mean, it's something you have to do, but before you even hire that person, you've got to be in the right mindset, and you've got to be prepared to, number one, be the business owner that's going to give them every single tool to succeed. That's your job.
Mhm.
And if you can't do that, then you're destined to fail. You're failing that new employee.
Yeah.
But if you've given them every tool that they need to succeed and they still fail, then it's on them. And you can't feel bad about approaching that situation and saying, you know what, it's time to let you go. We've given you every chance, but we've given you every tool, and an opportunity that you can succeed. And if you don't, now it's on you.
Yeah.
And this is the action we have to take. So you've got to have the right mindset, and you've got to be prepared to be that company that allows those people to thrive, and or sink or swim, basically. We all want them to swim. You want everybody to thrive.
Absolutely.
So when you were going through your hiring phase and figuring out, like, this guy wasn't doing the work and wasn't ordering parts, how are you managing that now with multiple techs and ensuring that all those things are getting done, like, without micromanaging the hell out of your business, because that can be insane.
Yeah. So the biggest thing is putting policies in place, using standard operating procedures in your business to where it's not you making emotional decisions anymore. It's about we've already planned for this. We've been through this before. So we already have a policy for X, Y, and Z happening. The other thing too is, I think some business owners have this fear of getting close to their employees because they may have to fire them. I'm exactly the opposite. I feel like it's my job to the only way that I can inspire someone and give them the best opportunity to succeed is I let them in. And what comes with that is the fact that I may have to make a tough decision down the road that is going to influence our relationship. But I'm very upfront with everyone that comes to work for me about that from the very beginning, that, hey, I'm going to treat you like family here. And I'm also going to tell you when you're messing up and when you're doing well. And you will always have a straight answer from me. You will always get a transparent answer from me when it comes to your job and where you stand and how you're doing. Because it's unfair not to. I believe it's our job as leaders and to communicate to our employees where they're at. I think EJ and I talked about this one time. How can you evaluate somebody properly without letting them know what the goal is and what they should be doing at all times? If you're not doing that and setting expectations, it's actually your fault that the employee hasn't succeeded, because they don't even know what the expectation is of what a success looks like or what it's supposed to sound or act like. And that took some time to understand that. I managed people in other roles before, but owning a business, when you don't have those policies and procedures and, have an outlet, have other business owners to reach out to once a week as an outlet to say, guys, am I going about this right? Instead of, and I never made emotional business decisions. I just don't do it. I literally sit and evaluate something before I make a decision always. I learned that as well, because, you say something or you do something when you're emotional, you can't undo. And your employees are sitting there watching. One of the things that made it easier for me in the firing process was all my other guys were paying attention to how I was handling these situations. So if a guy is out of line and the rest of them are sitting there going, well, if he can get away with that, then, I'll just do this. And you're setting a good expectation of what you expect your employees to act like and handle themselves in your customers' homes. And if you don't do anything about it, it's going to lead to, I hate to put it like this, it's almost like anarchy, right? Like if you give employees an inch, some will take a mile. Good ones won't, but ones that are looking to leverage and think about themselves only, they will absolutely try to take a mile. So if you say, hey guys, you don't have to call in anymore in the office on Mondays and Fridays, it turns into every time, every day. It's not something that, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, it's how you build culture, right?
absolutely.
It's got to be the culture of your business. And different when you're dealing with multiple employees, in my experience, it's if one's doing something poorly and not meeting their expectations, then all the other ones are looking at that and they're like, well, if he's doing it, we don't have to do it. And it just runs like cancer through your business.
Yeah.
And it just affects morale of everybody else. So one person can really bring down the whole house.
I will say this, probably the most important role in our business that people undervalue probably the most in our industry is that CSR or office manager. The lady that we have in the office, she's a bulldog. I swear to God, she is one of the toughest women I've ever met in my entire life, but she's also one of the sweetest women. And she's the rock of our business, man. She's the face of our business. She's the first contact with every person that calls into our company. She's also what, you were going back to, how do I manage all those things with multiple techs and make sure, everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. It starts there. You gotta find a person that is looking out for you while you're out here trying to build a business in the field. that is looking out for your best interests. And you're not looking for a tattletale, but you're looking, and a lot of things Julie would tell me, I would find creative ways of telling the guys without them knowing that it came from her. You know what I mean? Because I didn't want to ruin that relationship that she was doing with them. I mean, while still maintaining integrity in the business. And that's a little tricky sometimes, but ultimately she's looking out for me and I realize that. So, um, you know, that's a big key to it. As you grow your business, you got to have on the other side of the business some, I got a great CPA, I got a great office manager, I got another CSR that handles all of our billing stuff and vendor stuff. You got to build in foundation of growth. The greatest thing that the most successful man I knew in our industry told me when I was a young man was, grow your business like a corporate business, or build your business like a corporate business, and it will grow like one. And I've never forgot that. It's like it is literally ingrained in my personality now, to where you're not going to try to grow a 7, 8, 10 technician business with no foundation built around it. Because here's what happens: it turns into controlled chaos. With back to the story, within 8 months of me starting this company, I had 7 people working for me. And I thought I had I was like, I figured this out. I hit an absolute home run. You know what I ended up doing? I fired every one of them except 2 people, because I realized I had no foundation. It was literally me going out and doing recalls for 5 of those guys day after day after day and never making any money. I was pissed off because they were doing a crappy job to begin with. And I reevaluated and cut it all back, and I look back and I was like, man, I must have really had been pushed to the brink to do that. Like, thinking about that now, like just getting rid of 5 people that are out making me, $1,000 plus a week. I must have been insane. But the truth of the matter is I realized that it was going to be a nightmare if I didn't address it immediately. And, it really had to do with the fact that I was in the Appliance Alliance with EJ, you and TK and Zach, talking through all these problems every week. It gave me purpose and direction, and gave me a chance to reflect before I made decisions. And it changed the direction of my company. I mean, I was off to the races, but it wasn't solid like it is now. I'm getting to the point where I can see the finish line, and that's the greatest gift I could have been given. I'm 4 techs away from being done, and I couldn't be happier about it.
Let's address a couple of questions. We got a Facebook user that's got a question. What were some of the biggest mistakes you saw your family make in the industry?
Oh boy, we'd have to start a whole nother show for that one. My dad had 6 brothers that did this all across the United States, and he also had my stepmom had 5 sisters. Their husbands all did this across the United States. There's literally like 30 companies across the United States owned by my family. Some of them ended up on FBI's most wanted list. I have an uncle that had the biggest check kiting scheme in the country at one time, running through an appliance repair business. And then I have an uncle that was driving a Porsche and a Maserati by the time he was 26, living in Florida, and had a 38 technician business before he was 30. I would say the biggest thing is that they were so focused on how much money they were making from day one, instead of realizing the long-term play of the business and the future earning potential of the business. You build a business to where it's 9, 10, 12 techs. Once you retire, it's still going to provide income for you that's life-changing. And I saw a lot of my dad's brothers, they would come into a city and they all knew how to dominate in any market because my grandfather had been doing this for 40 years, and they also had 5 6 brothers. So every time they'd go into city, they'd always take over. It was just a matter of, was it permanent or not. And I had uncles that would go from Cincinnati, and they would run double full, we called them double trucks back then. So in the Yellow Page days, you basically put a two full page ad in the appliance repair section in the front. So the first 2 full pages was, let's say, for instance, I'm going to make up 2 company names, Able Appliance and Affordable Appliance. One page would be Able, one page would be Affordable. They would look like 2 different companies. And then at the very bottom, it would say under the same ownership. And we called it a double truck or a double full, right? So you literally have the top 2 spots in that area. And back in the Yellow Page days, that was the one place where you marketed your business. So if you dominated there, it might cost you $8,000 a month for the first year, but you're literally going to bleed everybody else dry. And that's what would happen. And this was a common strategy used by my family for generation, for over 30, 40 years. And it worked to perfection. It was just a matter of, whichever family member of mine had a drinking problem or a woman problem or whatever. Uh, you know, they 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 made a lot of business decisions based off of gut instincts instead of having things put in place and in writing. Um, I don't know. There's things on here I probably wouldn't mention, but uh, yeah, I would say the biggest thing is being unprepared and try solely focusing on how much money they could get in their pocket from day number one, because you're really stealing from your own business.
Speaking of stealing, Doug wants to know, what are some basic reasons for letting an employee go? Come on, Doug. You know this.
Thanks, Doug,
And
for that.
Joe
Awesome.
pretty much answered it right away, with the basics. Theft, not showing up to work, drugs, alcohol, violence, they're the basics, but
So my number one thing is trust in my business, and every guy that works for me knows this. I don't like being lied to by anybody that works for me, and nobody likes to be lied to. And I hold myself to the same standards with my employees. I don't even really call them employees, man. I call them partners. I mean, the guys that have helped me build this business. Um, but dishonesty is a number one for me, because if I can't trust you, it's hard for me to put you out in a truck and feel confident in what I'm doing, with allowing you access to so many different ways of to be able to hurt me, honestly, financially.
so Jojo says, talking back to you. How do you deal with an employee with an attitude problem?
Um, you know, the, you got to be quick and decisive, man. And the thing is I just believe that you have to treat them like grown men, and when they don't act like grown men, act accordingly. Um, I'm a big respect person, and I bring it up to my guys all the time. I don't have a lot of problems with that because I'm very communicative about how I am about respect and trust. And but you're right, especially with the younger generation, uh, it tends to be more prevalent these days, I think. Uh, Quick and decisive, and what I mean by that is, not letting it happen time after time and looking the other way. The first time that you see it happen, do something and make it bold enough to make them understand that you're willing to fire them over something like that. Um, once it's
Yeah.
already reached the point to where they're talking back to you every day, you might as well let them go. You've already lost them.
Yeah,
Truthfully.
grace can only go so far, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, you can offer a lot of grace and understanding, and um, in
The
most cases, when you've got an employee that's talking back to you and being negative, there's probably something else going on.
yeah.
So, you should probably approach it as an understanding that there's some other issues in it may be something totally unrelated to you or your business. And it could be something going on at home. And you've gotta really be conscious to those type of situations. And if there is nothing going on, then it's a work issue, and you've got to talk to them and dig that out, because there may be something that is going on that you're not aware of with another employee or yourself, some animosity towards you as a business owner. So
Absolutely.
you
Well, and
may you
also,
may not even be aware of it,
yeah, also
and it
be
may be your fault, that
absolutely be
that
reflective.
there's a
All right,
problem.
take ownership in it. If you sit back and look, and that's the great part of having you guys to be able to meet with once a week. If you sit back and look, does he have a point? I mean, are you doing something that is a problem within your business that you're just not willing to address or want to address, and it's causing your employees to have issues with, let's say, part suppliers or whatever? It really depends on the situation. Not
Mhm.
outright disrespectful behavior towards me around the other technicians, I wouldn't put up with that. But I don't have that problem because I believe that ever since we started the company, if that was the case, it would be addressed immediately. Um,
Right. It once you have that culture set in place, it's easier to address those things, and they happen a lot less.
yeah.
So, EJ made a comment earlier about when I'm checking out the market and competition, I check the reviews around town. I see what
Good
the
point.
good comments and the bad comments say. That's actually pretty good.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
then Paul said people have such a dislike for dishwashers. We fix a lot of them quickly and easily, and a lot of as easily as a lot of basic dryers. I get they're not as profitable as sealed system, but they're just as profitable as a washer.
Hey, we still do dishwashers every day, Paul. It's just that you got to prioritize things in your business when you're looking at it from uh, a banking aspect or an investment opportunity aspect. Okay, which I do in my business every day. You got to prioritize things in your business, and it also helps you leverage which direction you're going to go when you market. So I got to put a priority on refrigerators, um, and I got to put a priority on dryers. And it doesn't mean that I'm turning away dishwashers at all. But if I'm going to make anybody wait, so I can allow a 75-year-old woman to get her fridge back up and running so she can keep her insulin cold, then it's going to be a dishwasher. And it's not from the fact that it's the least profitable, it is the least valuable product in someone's home that they can live without and be willing to wait 3 days to do so. That's
Right.
the idea, is the fact that someone would, they're the least likely customer to give you grief about waiting, especially if you call them to say, hey, we've got this customer, would you mind switching spots with her because she's got a refrigerator that's gone down? And you'd be shocked, 95% of people say absolutely, and the 5% you just deal with.
Right. Paul says, how do you deal with work-life balance for your techs?
It's a, that's a tough question that is
That's a
an ever
loaded
evolving
question.
question, brother. We put an emphasis on getting together very regularly outside the office. And I have a policy at my company. I know I'm going to get a lot of raised eyebrows about this. My techs don't have to ask for time off. They can take off as much time as they want. Um, But the thing is they don't, because they have that freedom to. Okay. And what I mean by that is, if they take off 12 days, I just had a guy that took off 12 days and went to Las Vegas to play in the national pool tournament out there. He came back and he worked that Sunday and ran 8 to 10 service calls the Sunday he got back, and has been working like a crazy man ever since. It's important that you will lose more employees by trying to micromanage what they're doing and what they're not doing than you are to embrace the fact that, look, I want my guys to take some time off, because after they go out, and he went to Vegas for 12 days and lost $5,000, he's going to come back and
Probably
he's going
needed
to
to
work his
work.
tail off. And he's going to love me for it, because he got to be able to go to Vegas and have a great experience. And it's the truth. I mean, I know it's not for everybody, but, I treat them like grown men. I mean, and they respect it. I have had a few instances where guys take it too far, and I have to say, hey, look, dude, I have no problem with you taking time off, but when you're leaving part runs and recalls galore for other people, we're going to have to start figuring out a way that financially you have to, these guys have to be compensated for their time and energy for that.
You can always have them run calls in a Porsche SUV.
Exactly.
Yeah. Saul says he's got a client that runs calls in a Porsche SUV.
There you go.
All right. I think this has been a pretty good episode. I hope everybody learned something. Thanks for sharing all your expertise.
My pleasure,
one last
man.
comment. Never hire out of desperation. Hire people that remind you of yourself. You should hire people that are better than yourself.
I'm a big second chance guy. I love hiring second chance guys. And what I mean by that is, I like hiring people that maybe have been around the block a time or two, that have had opportunities and may not have taken advantage of those earlier in life. And now, by the time that they've got to me, they've been waiting for an opportunity to come along like this that's going to change their life. And, I have multiple guys that have been through some stuff in life and overcome it. And it's a beautiful thing to watch. I mean, one of these guys are about to buy their first house, about to have a kid. I mean, it's probably the most fulfilling part of building a business, is watching the effect it has on other people too.
Yeah. Watch their families grow and life changes. I've experienced that in my own business with my own people that have been with me for years, and it's really cool watching that.
It is, isn't it? Like,
it's really cool, because you're a part of that.
Yeah, and you got to have a bigger purpose than just making money. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to be passionate about something, and it's either, for me, it's about helping people. Like, I'm a big, I think you know this, Mike. Like, I literally I overcommit to things sometimes because I want to help people so much. And I've learned to work on that. We all have things we have to work on, but I love helping people. I love teaching this. First of all, it's like my passion in life. As far as my role in the Appliance Alliance, that's where hopefully you guys in the Appliance Alliance will get to know me more. When we do live training events and stuff like that, that's really where I fit into all this, hopefully. And, watching somebody who was washing dishes when I met them make $150,000 a year is probably the single most rewarding thing I've done professionally in my life. To watch somebody evolve and how much it changed their life. There's only so much you can be inspired financially by building a business. I mean, I'm not trying to sound arrogant by saying this, but I have all my needs met at this point. You know what I mean? There's only so many nice cars you can buy or whatever. And I'm not saying I'm to that point that I'm all set, but you got to have something that drives you beyond a dollar value, because when you get to a company the size of mine, you're going to see so much money coming and going, and it's fleeting, bro. It comes and goes, right?
Yeah, it's like a vapor.
Absolutely. But you know what doesn't is the brotherhood that I've built and the people
Right.
that are around me. I've literally created my own family, and I love it. I love every minute of it. So
Yeah, that's really cool when you can say you've created your own family.
absolutely,
That's amazing. I mean, it's all about community, right?
it
And
is.
our employees are part of our community. You know, we've got all these different segments of community and life happening all around us, you know, and that's just one piece of it. But you can't ignore it. So, all
No doubt. Well said. Well said, Mike.
right. Well, we didn't open in prayer, but I'm going to close this in prayer.
All right.
So, all right, let's do this. Dear Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for Justin. I want to thank you for his expertise and everyone that's listening right now. I want to encourage everyone to go out and be the best version of themselves as you want them to be, Lord. I want to lift up TK to you. I know he was having a pretty hard day and pretty hard morning, and just want you to bless his birthday today and keep him in all of our thoughts. And if everyone could just reach out to him, give him some encouragement. He needs it today. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, everybody.
Happy birthday,
We will,
TK. Don't
yeah,
worry,
happy
man.
birthday, TK.
The grass on top always gets a little thinner as we get older, bro.
Yeah, mine got a little more gray, but at least I'm not losing it yet. So, all right.
All right,
You
brother.
guys have a great day. We'll
See you
talk to you
guys
later.
later.